Okay, today we're going to talk about gender and sport. There's two categories you need to be aware of. The first are the physical differences between male and female athletes, and the second is the perceived differences between these athletes, the sports they take part in, and you also need to have an understanding of discrimination towards women in sport. Now, the physical differences, you just need to understand the differences between men and women. First of all is the body shape, size and physique, and there's generally a big difference between males and females. Women tend to be smaller overall, with a flatter, broader pelvis, smaller lungs and hearts, and a higher percentage of fat. Now, because women have smaller hearts and lungs, they also have a lower oxygen carrying capacity than males, and the differences between male and females can be up to 43%. Now, this will obviously affect a female long distance athlete compared to a male long distance athlete. Now, muscle strength and power can also vary. In tests of muscle strength, men and women have big differences of up to 40 to 50%, as women have less muscle mass compared to males. Now, because women have less muscle mass, they do tend to have increased flexibility. Now, physical differences also carries on here. Now, just because that men and women do have these differences, it doesn't mean that women are always disadvantaged when competing against men, and actually they're able to compete on equal terms in many sports such as equestrian. Now, actually, women can have big advantages over sports such as gymnastics because they have less weight, and because of that low muscle mass, they have better flexibility. Men do, though, have a huge advantage in sports which need power and strength because, obviously, of their increased muscle mass and because of their increased muscle strength. Now, it is important to be aware and know that up to the age of 11 in many sports, boys and girls can take part against each other. This is Lily Lawson in the top left-hand corner, and she plays in a mixed league against boys in the local football, and she's scored 70 goals in the last 14 games. Unfortunately, Lily won't have these opportunities when she gets to about 11 years old because at this age, boys and girls develop at different speeds, and obviously the boys will become stronger and more powerful compared to the girls. The leagues will be separated, and Lily will have to join a girls only league, and then the boys will go on and carry on in a boys only league. Now, you do need to have an understanding of the perceived differences just so you understand how sport has discriminated against women over the years. Now, one reason that women have been discriminated against in sport are just traditional beliefs. Now, unfortunately, there is a belief that's gone through for many years that women should be staying at home and looking after the family and seen as housewives and so on, and they haven't been encouraged to take part in sport as much as the men have. Second of all, there are some stereotype sports such as women are seen to be only able to take part in things like gymnastics, dance or netball, and these are seen as stereotypically female sports, and they haven't been encouraged as much to take part in things which are seen as male orientated sports such as the rugby, football, basketball and so on. Now, women are also seen as the weaker sex. Now, there are facts to back this up that men have bigger muscle mass and more strength and power, but this discrimination towards women has meant that they haven't been able to break through the scene in things like women's rugby as fast as males have, or take part in things like women's boxing as much as men do. Because of these beliefs, because of these discriminations, because of these stereotyping that we just talked about, women have had fewer opportunities to get themselves involved in sports. But only now are the governing bodies of various sports actually trying to combat this and trying to break down these discriminations, break down these beliefs, and actually try and encourage more women to take part in sport. As we saw in Germany in 2011, FIFA ran its probably the biggest Women's World Cup and the finals between Japan and USA. Women's boxing is on the increase, while women's rugby is on the increase, but unfortunately they're still not up to speed, they're still not developing, they're still not growing as fast or catching up anywhere near as male sports are, but they should do over time. Some of the things you also need to be aware of about reasons why that women's sport isn't as big as it should be is because of things such as the media and the fact that they cover more male sports and have only a tiny selection of women's sports mentioned in their newspapers. Role models, because the media focuses so much on male sports, there aren't as many female role models, so these people aren't being inspired to take part, but this is changing with people like Kelly Holmes and Paula Radcliffe and various tennis players. Stature, still things like male orientated sport, we see a lot on TV about the male rugby leagues, the Premiership football leagues for males, and we don't really have the stature for the women's football leagues, the women's rugby yet, and it's not really held in as high esteem, but this is something that's being changed. and equal pay. If you look at the Premiership footballer who earns millions of pounds a year, unfortunately for the women's footballers, they earn hardly anything compared to this. But again, this is something which the governing bodies are investing money into and trying to get more women in sport, and hopefully sometime in the future to try and make it an equal level playing field for both genders.